Hey, it's Bruce Reba, author of Freedom's Quest, Florida History Store on Amazon, and my sci-fi story, Woodpecker, on Kindle Vella, about the other space center. Hey, look at the sunrise behind me in NASA headquarters. I just had to stop. And so, before I head on to work, as I'm enjoying the sunrise, I thought I would run by quick the Lost History Tour, and that is the Ghost Lagoons. That's a good one, huh? So, take a contour map of the ocean right offshore of the Space Center, and you'll notice two flat spots, giant flat spots on the ocean bed, and they almost exactly mirror the Indian River and the Mosquito Lagoon. And this is a function of the shape of the Florida Peninsula and the currents that create the lagoons. So during the Ice Age, the current lagoons had dried up to small streams, and then the lagoon system had shifted offshore. All right, so I brought that up because when I got here in the Air Force as a history nerd, I signed up for an archaeology class at the local college. And I was kind of disappointed because it went like this. The archaeologist explained, teaching the class, explained during the Ice Age, there were people here in Brevard County and along some of the creeks, and they noticed by the spear points they find and the Melbourne, it's called the Melbourne Man in the Crane Creek Bone Bed. So there were people here, but then, and the archaeologist said, then there was nobody here till 5,000 years ago when the shell midden period started, and that corresponds to the formation of the local lagoon system. So, the guy told me this, there was like 8,000 years of nothing. But on his desk was a book, looks like a self-published book on all the spear points found on Kennedy Space Center and the Space Force Base. Well, it was called the Air Force Station back then. And I looked through that book, and lo and behold, because I'm a nerd, I recognized the spear points. They were all from what they call the Archaic period, roughly 8,000 years old. And so the archaeologist didn't really address that. He said maybe hunting parties, seasonal. So, in the Midwest, there's a continuity from the Ice Age of people, from the Ice Age to what they call the Archaic, to what they call the Woodland, the Mississippian, and contact period. Solid, continuous period. Not in Brevard. But then something happened, and it was called Windover Farms Burial Pond. Roughly 7,000 years old. I won't use the exact dates because I'll get them wrong. But that's 2,000 years before the lagoon system existed. And so suddenly, archaeologists were kind of forced to come up with agree with the fact that there were people here, probably a continuous habitation. And the problem is, real quick. So when I went to the Windover Farms burial site when it was open, and I asked the archaeologist where the village was, and he said, under the river. And that was the first time that I realized the lagoon system didn't always exist. I know now it had just shifted offshore during the Ice Age, but so there was the problem. The Native Americans were living on lands that are now submerged, and so they were living in under what's now under the Indian River and offshore on the ghost lagoons. And so the artifacts are just underwater. It's kind of interesting during the shrimp days before they wiped everything out. They would routinely bring up, dredge the bottom of those ghost lagoons and bring up mastodon and mammoth teeth. Maybe a spear point. So it's pretty amazing lost history. And there's a, real quick, I got to go to work. I don't know what happened to the sunrise. So when they told me about these, the people were under the river, I started mapping out the ghost creeks. So if you pull up Google Maps or the old World War II pictures, aerial shots, you can still see that under the river, under the lagoon, you can see ancient stream channels where these people used to live, and the megafauna too, and into the ice archaic period. So I've been on a search for years to see if I could find one of the archaic villages under the river, and so something to consider is the archaic lifestyle, pre-agriculture. So they had to move around to food resources. So there really is no like a classic village. There's many villages. So anyway, I think after years of searching, I think I have discovered one of these archaic villages, a Windover Farms village. Now, I don't know what to do about it. I found it. It was like, tag, you're it. But, oh, there's no seams on me. Oh. So anyway, Bruce Reba, I'm going back to work. Out. Wow, no seams.